well, we're recording. I'm not liable for anything that happens.
What did we decide to call this? Didn't we come up with a snappy new name for Two Kaneko Podcast?
Oh, Kaneko.
No. It's like
Radio.
Two Kaneko Radio.
Right. I mean, it's established as 43 episodes under the Two Kaneko Podcast name.
Hello and welcome to the Two Kaneko Podcast. I'm Harry.
I'm James.
And we are Two Kaneko.
And this is the Two Kaneko Podcast. Oh wait, we already did that bit.
Yeah. How's everyone doing?
I forgot we're on video.
Yeah, we're on video too.
Hey.
So this is a multimedia experience. The first podcast that both me and James have recorded in a while.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we do these... I'm not going to say we do this regularly, but we do these every now and again. Whenever we feel like talking about things, and I mean, obviously we want to do them more regularly, but that's, I guess we're working on it.
Yeah. So we did them in our, what I'm calling our lockdown singles era of
like
January and February.
January through March, yeah.
But I think we thought that they weren't that good, or that us rambling for an hour, considering all the other content we had to make, we weren't really sure where the podcast sat. But I love podcasts. So, as I said in my last podcast, the Two Kaneko Podcast, I'm desperate to make podcasts deep in my heart because basically my phone is always talking to me because I've got some sort of podcast on at all times.
Yeah.
So I feel like I want to give back to the world what podcasts gave to me. And I actually listened to some of our old ones and I enjoyed them. I feel like there's something in them. There's something in this, you know?
So here we are in our living room on a Friday night. It's about 9:30. We've got
Lit.
lights set up. We have taped my phone to the light stand to get some video.
It's kind of surreal when you think about it.
How so?
I wonder if anyone else in this flat building is doing this. Recording their conversations.
I highly doubt it.
That's why it's surreal. Just lighting yourself is, a strange thing.
Yeah. So we're here to talk about our album. I guess just provide general updates on Two Kaneko.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe we'll have some insightful discussions if if we're lucky.
We'll roll the dice and we'll see what comes out.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who haven't been living under a rock in the Two Kaneko universe in the past few months, we're making an album right now, due to come out September. I updated one of our bios today that said it was coming out in June. I was like, no.
Oh, wow, that was ambitious.
Yeah. I think it was on Spotify.
Really?
It's like, the new album's coming June. I was like, that was wildly ambitious.
Yeah.
Because we're in June. We're almost at the end of June.
I mean, we have released something today, to be fair.
The Jam Experience.
We don't plug that much on the podcast, but we released something called The Jam Experience. It's a collection of jams.
Well, I suppose the podcast can be time independent as well. So,
yeah.
What we're saying is a new release now could not be a new release to people listening in future. But anyway, right now we're making an album due to come out in September, not June, and we are edging towards finishing tracking. We're at that kind of niggly bit of recording an album where you've done the bulk of the work, but there's lots of small bits to go back and correct and polish.
It's kind of like we've recorded the drums, the guitars, the bass, the vocals, and we've even put some sort of light production on top. And now we just need to do the extra bits that take songs from sort of demo, good quality demos to actually fully produced album worthy songs. And that bit takes a long time because I guess it, compared to what you expect it to take, it takes a long time because you sort of think, oh yeah, we'll just throw some tambourines and a few synths on it at the end, and that'll take like a day. It doesn't. It takes ages.
Yeah. This is actually one of the hardest bits that I find of the whole album making process, because I think when you get to the point where you're finishing tracking and all you can do is kind of mix and finalize and put it out, you're sort of settling of this is what you envisage something in your head when you first write a song and first make it, and kind of all the way through the process you've still got this kind of dream of what it might sound like and then the reality of what it sounds like, and you're kind of getting closer and closer and closer. And although what you've made might sound really good, at some point you have to go, right, this is how the song turned out, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Whereas like whenever you think of a song, it's like a perfect world in
Yeah.
your head. Like everything sounds amazing, and it's not that you feel like you've fallen short, but it's weird committing something that was in your head to like, this is the version. This is what I've worked towards
Yeah.
for 3 months.
Yeah, it's so weird. I feel like it's a gradual transition. Because I'm going to use an example of the last song on the album. It's called "Starting to Know What I Want," and we basically spent most of Saturday and a bit of Sunday recording backing vocals and putting some percussion on that track. So the sort of finishing touches. And that has really transformed the track. So what I originally had for that track in my head was something quite different to how it's ended up. So I feel like there's definitely a sort of gradual transition to what you kind of think that perfect version of the song is going to be in your head to what it turns out to be. And you kind of, I've always found that I've eventually learned to prefer the version that it becomes than the one that's in my head, which is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if I've, like, on some songs like that one, for instance, like, I don't know if for Starting to Know What I Want, I had an end vision in my head
Yeah.
as much, whereas some of the others, you've got a kind of, oh, this could be cool. I don't know, it's weird. Sometimes it is dictated by, like, vision in your head, and it's quite hard to describe if people don't make songs or create things. But yeah, ideas or like end sounds or whatever literally just like pop into my head and almost like compelled to like be made, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what it should be, and it's really like an uncontrolled and like there's loads of famous artists who talk about as if a song is like they were a vehicle through which a song came rather than they like made it up. Because when you're at any stage, either when you're writing the words or you're putting backing vocals on, like it's not very calculated. It's not like a strategy that you come up with in your head or a math problem that you're trying to like work out through logic, whatever. It's just it should be like this, and it just pops out and you just kind of fulfill what your head came up with.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes that vision's clearer or not clearer, and like for that song, yeah, we just kind of stumbled upon something quite cool that's probably cooler than what I thought that song was going to turn out like, you know?
How often do you actually execute the vision you originally had, though? Do you often get it right, or is it often something different?
It's not. I think it's different for different people in terms of how set it is.
Yeah.
So some people are like, I've got this exact sound, and I'm just gonna search the world and search like everything until like I find that thing. I kind of I've kind of get a bit of a like, not make it up as you go along, but a bit like feel it out as you go along, and you'll like make decisions on what you like or don't like.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't, it's a real like gut feel thing. I wouldn't say that like I woke up and I had a complete like song happen in my head and all I had to do was try and make that exact thing in my head happen in the real world. Like I kind of worked it out as I made it most of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'd say more often than not, I actually like either surprise myself or like end up just liking how it came out through the decisions that we made. So like for instance, there's not any songs that we've recorded that I go like, that wasn't how I originally envisaged it and I'm really annoyed about it.
Yeah.
There's a few is maybe like, oh, I thought it would be like this when we started, but then when we actually recorded it and tried different things, like I like that we changed our mind as we went along the way, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I actually agree. I find it more applicable to I make the artworks for Tukaneko most of the time. Have you made an artwork yet?
I made some of the really crap early ones. I do a couple of crap versions of stuff and then Harry goes, good idea, now let's do it well.
So some of I make about 90% of the artworks for Tukaneko, at least as of this podcast. And I have a similar thing, so I kind of have a vision in my head of what I want the artwork to look like, and then I would start to pursue that. But through my trying to get to that artwork, I'll always stumble across other things that I think are cool, and I think that's where I tend to differ from my original vision, is I just find something else that's cool and I start chasing down that kind of avenue, and I often end up with something very different. So I think, I mean, the artwork for this album we haven't showed anyone it, but I can't really talk about this on a podcast because it's all visual.
I mean, it's videos. We could edit in some of it.
I guess we could.
Or we can do a separate.
It's probably too hard. I've built everyone's expectations up right now, but we're not going to talk about the artwork today. All I will say is I started out with one vision. My vision was to build basically a program in Java to make it look like it was being drawn on screen, and that went through a load of different forms to the kind of products that we're sort of semi-happy with at the moment, and we're pretty close to the original artwork, but it's very different to what I originally thought it would be. That'll be another video.
Cool,
probably.
though. It's cool.
It's cool.
Looks cool.
It's cool.
It's going to be cool artwork. But very cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Don't know. For me, like, creativity, I keep quite relatively separate to technical stuff. I was just thinking about, like, the conversation we just had on, like, original vision versus, like, following your instinct as you go along. I'd say one of the most frustrating things is actually the mixing process, so the kind of end process of balancing the tracks into, like, the final track. That one is really hard to get something that you're satisfied with.
Yeah.
And again, I think for me, it's like you're at the end of that process, and whatever you choose, like, you almost have to commit to, like, the level that you can achieve at that time. I don't think many people, even who are professional mixers, are, like, happy with their old mixes, if you get what I mean. You really butt heads with reality in terms of, like, the perfect world versus, like, the real world of what you can do today, finish it, you know?
Yeah.
I think so. Mixing is one of the ones where it's hard to. It's quite hard to have an end vision, but again, at the same time, you have this, like, really strong gut feeling of whether it's right or not right. So I'd say I'd say I have that. I don't have, like, a for everything, but yeah, mixing's hard to, like, no, I'm at the end. But for most creative things, I don't have I don't start out going, this is exactly how it should end. But I do have quite a strong gut feeling of whether I like it or not, or whether, like, go in the right direction, whether I'm excited by, like, a new idea or not. Like if I like something, I'll then, like, listen to it, like, 10 times. Like, I get kind of, like, micro obsessed with, like, a bit of a song that, like, I'm really into.
Yeah.
So yes, it's interesting, but that's made it hard in other bands when we've had to learn songs that I don't like, because, like, this gut thing is just like, I don't like this.
I think I found it easier to pursue joy out of the stuff that I had to do. I enjoyed playing to a metronome. That there was some satisfaction to be gained out of playing to a metronome in those kind of cases.
What do you mean?
I think it might be a very niche. Well, it might be a unique case for me, or maybe it just might be different for guitarists and drummers. But being able to, in my sort of intermediate phase of drumming, it's really important to be able to play on a click, because it's something that a lot of sort of beginner to intermediate drummers take for granted. It's like, I can play to a click, no problem. And most of the time it's sort of like 90% there, but there's that kind of extra 10% that makes you sound like a pro drummer that a lot of beginner and intermediate drummers kind of miss out on. And I was during that kind of phase where I was just learning to play on a click, and I kind of took the advantage of being in a band where this was in the band that me and James were part of a couple of years, how many years ago? 2-3 years ago. But it was important to play on the click in that band, and I took the kind of opportunity to really become one with the metronome.
So you're sort of saying that even if it wasn't like even if it's not a creative thing, you kind of used it to practice your skill kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at the end goal of being a creative drummer, to be a creative drummer, you need to sort of master the tools that you have, and master the tools that most drummers have. And one of those tools is being able to play to a click. And I know we've had this discussion many a time before, James, but with drumming, it's really important to be able to play on the click or be able to play with feel, so be able to play in a consistent time. And once you kind of lock that in, you can start to be more creative around the kit. Because otherwise, you can sort of there's a certain thing that you hear when you hear, like, a really pro drummer play. You just know that they spend hours and they can they're in the pocket. They like are so consistent with their time. So in this example, I was looking to get better at my time so I could be a more creative drummer. So I guess in like I just took advantage of the situation pretty much.
So, like, we sort of said this before, but I think it's interesting that I think technical ability is important to the point of like if it's blocking your ability to express yourself how you want to, then you need to improve your technical ability. But at the same time, like people who go to music college or can shred on guitar or whatever are not necessarily making the creme de la creme of songs that connect with people. So like I kind of come from a combination of like technical guitar playing, but also songwriting and expression and lyrics. I'm kind of like a blend of those two worlds. There's a lot of people who are great at writing songs who are kind of crappy at their instruments, and vice versa. Some people who are sick guitarists, but like their music just is kind of flat in terms of if you listen to it. Like I personally wouldn't connect with it, kind of thing. And that can actually be kind of hand in hand in terms of being really good at guitar, because you're just like the whole purpose of the song is to show off your guitar playing. But then some people who play guitar really love that stuff. Like they love music to be like technically really difficult on the guitar. So it's an interesting. Whereas there's others who are like their guitar playing's a bit crappy, but there's a vibe to it, and therefore like I connect with it. And I've been moving more towards that as I've gone on. Maybe it's an excuse not to make my guitar playing better. But like
I think there's a difference here between guitar playing and drum playing.
Maybe.
I mean, it might just be my perspective, but I've never been inspired by a drummer who isn't who doesn't have good feel or who isn't technically good.
Yeah, I think it's because like the whole song might fall apart if it's sloppy drums.
I can. It's just something that really irks me when I listen to a recording with a drummer who's sort of meh.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I think with guitar playing, I think Neil Young is an example that we bring up quite a lot. He has very, very trashy guitar solos a lot of the time, which aren't in time, and which is the song where he just plays one note for like 4 or 5 bars. Down by the River.
That was one of the most inspirational ones that I had though, because I was looking up sort of Neil Young songs, trying to get like more into it, and someone said like, just listen to this solo, like he stays on one note for like the whole first bit, but like try not to be like moved, at least emotionally changed by listening to it, you know, however drastically. But it's about like someone, I think he kills his wife, spoiler alert, kills his wife down by the river, and then like the guitar solo comes in like da 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 da, like almost like a machine gun or something.
Oh my god.
And so that ability to bring out like the song and the like what's being talked about, what's being like expressed in the song through your playing is like what interests me the most. Whereas in like the guitar sort of, particularly the sort of YouTuber guitar world, they can make really cool like riffs and like technical guitar stuff, but I'm not gonna like go and put it on and like be moved to tears by it, if you get what I mean. It's very, I find that world so technical. It's like, and I have a technical side, like I do kind of audio engineering, that kind of thing, and whatever. But creatively, it doesn't. Yeah, I find them quite separate. I don't know. I don't get like excited. Don't know. Yeah, I just don't listen to music in a technical way.
Interesting.
It's like a much more emotional thing, and that kind of is why I said like the creativity side is all like this gut feel. I try as little as possible to think about like what scale I'm in, or what would be a technically right chord change or whatever to go into here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that kind of asks another question, because when I'm playing drums, when I'm performing drums, I don't like to think about what I'm playing.
Yeah.
I like to rely on the practice that I've done to sort of guide my instincts.
Yeah.
So, if what you're saying holds true, you could, in theory, practice exotic scales or something, and then trust your instincts without thinking about what scale you're in to take you to an interesting place.
And like my way of learning lead guitar has been kind of backwards, because like I just became lead guitarist in the band that we were in when we were 12, 13, whatever.
Yeah.
And kind of carried on being lead guitarist most of the way through. And I basically learned, because I'd played guitar for a decent while before then, so I knew a lot of like the chords and whatever, but I didn't know much solo playing, and I literally learnt it because we were kind of at the age where it didn't really matter if we were a bit shit. I literally learned by just like finding what worked and what didn't,
Yeah.
and kind of built my own map of the guitar from like.
That's cool.
Yeah, so now I'm kind of going back and starting to learn like more technical things
Yeah.
in terms of different scales, and I find that a lot of it's not very unfamiliar to me, but that's because I kind of found that worked. I was like, oh, that's in that scale, and so I do get what you mean, that like now when we jam or something, I'm not thinking technically of like, oh, I want to put in a blue note here, this would be cool, but like I kind of instinctually know, having played guitar for so long, like I mean, you're not even thinking, to be honest, you're not even thinking, like it's almost as if it's just happening in front of you, and you're like, oh, that was a cool note that I just played, I didn't realise that I was going to do that. It's so close to that, it's so close to like happening before you think. But yeah, I have had some improvements from overlaying some technical like knowledge of what I'm doing, rather than like not really knowing why that note works or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the same time, I'm a bit averse to like then using that too much I just don't want like that telling my creative side what to do, if you get what I mean. You have to balance those two worlds. They're like feuding families.
Yeah, okay.
Keep them away. If you
Okay.
put them together at a wedding for too long, they'll start fighting.
Interesting. I think it's time for a whiskey interlude.
Cue whiskey music.
So, for those of you not on video, I've got a nice drink of whiskey right in front of me. I've been sipping it.
You're most of the way through it, actually.
Oh, it's lovely. It's lovely. It's called Amrit Fusion, and it's Indian whiskey, and it's the first Indian whiskey that I've tried. And I didn't even know that India made whiskies, and this one's delicious. Highly recommended. James, what are you drinking?
I've got a no-label Peroni, because I'm doing that thing where I pick labels as I go. I don't know why. It's a habit I have to pick labels off drinks. It's very strange. Which they'll see on video. If you watch it in high speed, you'll just see me like, yeah, so I have a Peroni beer by Italy. It's nice.
What does it say there?
It was on offer. We didn't usually go this premium on our beers, but I'm enjoying it.
Oh, we do go premium on beers, James. Come on. We don't work jobs in London for nothing.
Keeping us in those nice beers. That's what it's all about. Me and nice guitars and nice beer. But yeah, so that's creativity, drumming versus guitaring.
Yeah, I mean, we promised to talk about our album on this one.
Well, let's go.
Let's go. We have got, how many tracks? 11-ish?
I've not even counted.
I don't know.
We wanted it to be like a tight like 40 minutes, but I think it's going to be at least 50.
That's okay. I know that we haven't even released this album yet, but I'm looking towards album 2, 2021.
Yeah, it's actually album 3 of Toucan Echo, but we've always referred to 2021 as album 1 and 221 because we thought we'd get 2 albums out this year. We're pushing it.
Yeah, we're probably
in terms
not.
of this one's going to come out in September.
Yeah, we're probably not going to get 2 albums out this year, James. Anyway, album 3, Toucan Echo.
Working title.
Work. I'm going to cough.
Thank you for listening to the Toucan Echo podcast.
Sorry, that was really bad podcasting.
Back to the action.
Album 3, Toucan Echo. I'm looking forward to this album because one of my main bits of feedback from this album is I really want to tighten up our songs. Not to say that the songs are loose, but we've definitely sort of waded into a bit more of the jam stuff, I guess. But I want to really just.
You want a punchy album 4?
My favourite albums are like 35 minutes in length. Anything longer, I get bored.
We've not even released this one. You're like, it's a bit bloated. It's not bloated.
Wow.
It's it explores musical territories in its own time.
That's good.
Yeah, takes the time to do the proper due diligence of song territories.
Song territories.
Due diligence.
The song cartographers really is a real
yeah
diligent.
So where were you going with that?
Where was I going with that?
Album. Talking about the next album.
I'm really excited with the album that we've done now, and it's made me so excited that I can't wait to do the next one. And I'm already thinking about how we can improve on the next one.
I want to get 12 string for the next one, but
Yeah.
my guitar buying is a bit out of control right now. I might have to sell one. But I'm really feeling genuinely feeling 12 strings on some of these new songs.
Yeah.
So I got a Source one.
We should talk about our current album though. So
just skip straight to the next one. We finish this one.
We've something that sort of happened naturally with this album is we've ended up with two sort of types of song. So we've got a collection of songs that are sort of like single worthy, and they're sort of like, what would you compare them to? They're sort of the square ones, the level ups of the Two Echo catalogue. And we've got another collection of songs which are all very similar in style, and they're a bit weirder, a bit more atmospheric. So we like the idea that this album sort of explores a duality, a sort of a waking world and a dream world, where the waking world songs are kind of your pop songs, and we've got some more atmospheric songs, which is kind of like a bit more dreamy and a bit more weird and a bit darker. So that's something that we've been kind of exploring with this album. We want to try and implement that sort of aesthetically as well, with the sort of artwork around the songs. That's one of the things that I'm really excited for with this album.
Yeah, that's like our next big heap of work. That's why it's coming out in September and not June. We've almost finished the tracking, and that will be done hopefully early July. The songs will be
finished
actually
articles.
finished, and all we'll be doing since then until it reaches you guys in September is like the rest of the kind of stuff around it, artwork and that kind of thing. So we do have a whole kind of, you make all the songs, and then it's like you have to try and represent them visually, and we have to find a title that means that when people see the title or they see the cover, they'll get an impression of what the songs might be underneath. But as we've talked about creatively, you don't kind of write the songs or put the album together with an idea of, you don't come up with the album title and cover first and then make songs for it. I mean, that'd be way easier if that was the way around and it was done. But coming up with songs is quite a natural thing, and then somehow you've got to kind of package it up for people and go, here's how to access all this stuff that we've made. Here's how to make sense of it.
Yeah, this is the last 18 months of our creativity, sort of thing.
Yeah. So and even talking about it is hard, because you have to kind of find a way to sum up what is. I mean, some of these songs, they're over the last year or two, I guess now, because a lot of them came in lockdown.
Lockdown 1 UK, March through July.
2020. Which, as I said in the last podcast, I think a lot of albums are going to come out based on musicians writing during lockdown. But so songs kind of came out there's some from before that period, and then there's some from just being locked down and making demos and stuff. So to sum up that whole period of time, and then what all the songs are about and stuff, it takes some serious thought to package that together, and to not make it kind of cliche or a bit, because you have to kind of simplify it down to a few. I mean, I'm just digging into how to market an album now, but you have to simplify it down to some themes that people get, or that catch people's attention. But also, you can never sum up the whole thing like that. So you have to kind of choose what you're gonna anchor it on. You just observe releases of major albums, and they'll go do interviews about a certain thing, and you'll kind of find that they talk about a certain angle. If you get what I mean? Because it's slightly different to try and get bloggers interested, or press interested in a new album coming out. It's got to have they've not heard the music yet, so it's got to be oh, this album happened because of X or because of Y. So you often find I broke up from a relationship, and this album's all about that, This album's not about that, but it's interesting trying to distill it down into how we're gonna talk about it, I guess, as well.
Yeah, we haven't got that down yet, as you can probably tell.
I think I was making some good points.
You were making good points, but there wasn't
But-
a single point. And that's the point, James.
That's the points.
So,
How are we going to make it catchy so that people want to
Yeah.
tuck in?
yeah. But what we can tell you is that we're going to release some singles soon. You know, here on the
Yeah.
podcast, we're the real inner circle. Not many of our fans.
The mailing list.
The mailing list. Will hear
But the podcast gets sent to the mailing list straight away. So
Yeah.
we love you, mailing list. You're heroes. Yeah, we're going to release some singles in advance of the album. And the album's like, it's not like it's going to come out on Spotify in September. It's going to go, we're going to do like a experience around it first, I think. So,
Yeah. Veterans of the mailing list from the days of the Jam experience, or even the Master Plan,
or even Walk to Circus.
or even Walk to Circus. We'll know the drill by now, but we're going to release a interactive online virtual experience around the album. It's going to be great. We haven't theory crafted it yet, but it's going to be a real.
I think this one will be good.
Yeah.
I think this one will be
Yeah.
pretty intense.
Mm.
So yeah, we're going to release it to our mailing list first, and it will come out on Spotify like a little bit later in terms of like public consumption. But that's the interesting thing about like albums in general is that like you're all told to like make singles and stuff now, but we want to release this to people who care about it, and ultimately people who care about music and particularly care about our music. I'm sure will be interested in something that we've worked into like a cohesive like collection of stuff. It definitely means something. It's gonna have like themes going all the way through, but still be kind of varied. Like, I do think for people who are into this music, this is like the best way to present new music. If you want music to like take you to a bit of a deeper level, or to like really make you think about stuff, or like really understand what the songs are about, to put these songs together just makes sense, rather than just dropping them as a, by the way, here's another Toucan Echo song, by the way, here's another Toucan Echo song. Like, that might be the best way to capture like light attention,
Yeah.
people passing by, but people who want to like dig deep into this stuff, the experience, being on our mailing list is the place to be, because that's where we're putting all our effort.
Yeah. You can't release an album track as a single.
Mm.
Album tracks are great, but they belong on albums, and you really get the depth there in an album.
Yeah.
So
How long we been going?
I don't know, James.
Speaking.
I don't know, James. We've got dinner. We've promised ourselves some production. We said that we'd do some tracking for the album after this. Here's me watching James spilling beer on his laptop. What a
That's right,
mess!
it's still working.
What a mess!
34 minutes?
So, things to look forward to. Album coming out in September. Obviously, check out the Jam Experience on Spotify. It's a collection of jams. We're going to be releasing some singles soon. First single we're going to release is probably... Can I say the name of the song? Are we confirmed on that yet?
Yeah,
We're going to
let's do
release I need to get the song title right now. Blinds When I See the Sun.
Oh,
It's coming out in a couple of weeks' time. Couple of weeks' time? We can't commit to that.
that came from you.
It will be out within 4 weeks. Complete with video. And then after that, another single. So,
Probably Bitter Dreams.
yeah.
But TBC. So yeah, album September. Jam Experience out now, Volume 2. Volume 2 of the Jam Experience. Singles in apparently 4 weeks.
Within 4 weeks.
And then another single. And on the mailing list to get the full album experience. You'll get the album eventually, but the behind the scenes experience, oof, that's worth being there for. So, thank you.
This has been the Toucan Echo podcast. This winding, rambling discussion on a Friday evening.
It's great.
On a lovely summer evening, we've got the windows open. We can hear the outdoors. Cars storming past.
Yep.
London.
I think we should wrap it up. For now,
All right.
goodbye.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and watching.